You know, this chapter really opened my eyes. This was an eye-popping experience. This blew my eyes out. Ragnarok. Before I open this review of Chapter 50 of Record of Ragnarok, please leave your own thoughts on the chapter in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, make sure you hit that little notification bell so you don't miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Now, let's get into it. What's up, guys? I got the pencil here, and here we are to review Chapter 50 of Record of Ragnarok, which is known as A Dark Cloud Hangs. And let's get right into it. So, we open up, and, well, there's a dark cloud hanging above the entire stadium, but that's pretty, not gonna lie, this whole chapter opens up really ominous. Like, despite the light energy, like, radiating off of Hajun, like, you see Buddha looking tense, you see the cloud above the arena, you see everyone feeling a little bit shooketh. Like, I love how dark and almost like malignant the opening of this chapter feels, from everyone's stances to the seriousness of it. And while Gear does come in to ruin it, asking, what the heck is that thing? And like I mentioned in last chapter review, how like everyone was feeling shooketh, and that kind of was like, oh, this is getting spicy. But then we get even spicier when Brunhild is asked, yo, what is that thing? And Brunhild grabs her head. He's like, I don't know. And I was, yo, like, here's the thing. You know it's bad when the exposition bot doesn't know when the exposition bot can't do exposition. That's the thing. You know it's down atrocious for everybody. And everyone, well, not everyone, just Gear is shocked. But me as a reader is shocked that Brunhild doesn't know anything about Hajun. And then Buddha's like, yo, I just helped that dude through a whole character arc. What the heck did you do with Zero? And Hajun's like, honestly, that boy gone. Like, he's not here. He's not in this world. And my name's Hajun, buddy. I'm gonna need you to put some respect on it. And the thing is, Buddha's still looking at him like, what in the world? Who are you? What are you? Where'd you come from? And Hajun's like, you know, honestly, those are all fantastic questions, and I have like negative 15 answers to that, dog. However, let me show you what I do know, which is the abilities of these hands, dog. And he's literally like, I'm gonna test out my strength. And I love how one by one we're going down all the characters who are like supposed to know everything, and they're just like completely blanked out on Hajun. Like, we see Loki ask Odin, like, yo, what's the deal with that thing? And Odin just stays silent. And to be fair, Odin has only talked like maybe once in the entire series, so that's fine. But you can tell by how the birds are sweating and how he seems to have his narrowed eyes, like he's looking like, darn, I also do not know what this is. And then we get to see that we get the last person who's supposed to know everything. That young boy Hermes is questioned by the horrible character Ares. I'm never gonna stop clowning on Ares, but the character who knows it all, who's unshaken by all things, is staring at Hajun. It's like, I have no idea what that thing is. And Ares is like, what? How do you not even know? And then we see this pair of stylish shoes, and they strolling up, and the person with these stylish shoes is like, that is no god. And we get to see that Ares is like, and is he's like, wait, what are you doing here? And we get to see that the person doesn't care why they're here. They're just saying, that is my seat. And who walks upon us and who who sits down but Hades himself. And honestly, I'm super happy to see him. We did get foreshadowing of what he would look like forever ago. Like, we got to see the three brothers, but now we do have like full-on images for all of them. And honestly, for Hades' design, it's like, part of me likes it because he looks a lot like Poseidon, and it just makes me wonder, especially like Zeus, did you just feel like aging, dog? Like, was this just a thing you felt like doing? Because Hades looks just as young as Poseidon, and he's the older brother to the both of y'all. So, and honestly, that's the thing. I really like his design because I like the different I'm not sure. I haven't brushed up on my Greek mythology in a minute, but I believe there are like technically 8 different parts of the afterlife in Greek mythology, and he has 8 different pins on him, and those could represent all the different levels. He has an interesting chain around his neck, but I feel like that's his chain to the underworld. You see like the sort of leaf growing on his forehead, that sort of tattoo. I feel like that's supposed to be reminiscent of the pomegranate that he ate. Well, no. Did he? No, Persephone ate the pomegranate from the underworld. But I believe I believe Hades also had to eat something from the underworld in order to take control of it. Or that maybe me just be getting confused with like Lore Olympus or something else. And honestly, to be fair, I feel like there's a lot of hints in this design for something. And who knows, that little like tooth earring may just be one of Cerberus's teeth. But still, I feel like this is a very, very cool design. The kind of design I was expecting for Hades? Not really, but still, I like it a lot. And once again, I can't really get mad at the anime for struggling to animate these, because as a person who just got done drawing Hades, golly gee willikers, man, like the amount of detail you have to put into these characters and the amount of detail they have inherently in their designs, this is a monthly manga. This is 100% something that takes a whole month to make. I'm not even shocked. However, I do get to see that boy Hermes is like, yo, what's good, dog? It's been a minute. And we get to see that Hades apparently rarely leaves. And the thing that caught me off guard about this is, like, I know Hades isn't technically an Olympian. Hold on, let me double check myself before I wreck myself. Yeah, so I was right. Hades is not an Olympian. So I understand why he wouldn't be around all the time. But at the same time, it's like, broski, I feel like you should have been there. Like, I know they may have been talking about, like, wiping humans off the planet entirely. But I feel like initially, well, I mean, to be fair, like, all of these people who are dying in the tournament are going to this weird void-like state where they're neither alive nor dead. But, well, no, they're dead. But they aren't, like, going to the afterlife, apparently. Something like that. But even still, I feel like Hades, you would have received, like, billions of souls, if not many, many more, considering how he has to hold all of human history in his own realm now. I feel like the humans are getting expelled from Valhalla and just sent down to the underworld. I'm kind of shocked that Hades wasn't there to make the decision, especially considering how important he is, and I feel like it wouldn't take him that long to get there. However, we do get to see the reason why Hades rose up in the first place was because he heard Poseidon had died, and we do get to see everyone still feeling bad for Poseidon's death. And to be fair, I did like Poseidon a lot, but I'm kind of glad my man took an L to Sasuke. I ain't gonna lie, I ain't gonna cap to you, but still, we do get to see that it is confirmed for Hades. Like, he heard the rumor somehow. Like, was he watching the tournament? How did he hear about this? I know in the grand scheme of things, it may have been a little while, but at the same time, while it's been a long time for us, considering we have to wait for this monthly, in terms of the tournament, Poseidon versus Sasuke was like, let's see, 1, 2, it was 2 fights ago. So I feel like the word reaching the underworld may be a little bit too quick, but at the same time, this was Poseidon. This is Hades' brother. He probably keeps tabs on his baby brothers. So I'm not shocked that I'm a little shocked, but I'm not too shocked that he figured out and that he's sad about it. However, we do get to see that Zeus tries to exert some dominance, and this is very, very interesting for me because this is like the first person we've ever seen Zeus like kowtow to. Like, he legit pushed down Shiva, a fellow leader of another pantheon, with one hand, completely ignoring what he said and declared. But meanwhile, all it takes is like one look from Hades and a quick, yo, calm down for a little bit. And Zeus instantly just steps back after he was trying to get in Hades' face. Like, it's cool to see Zeus, the supreme deity of this world, apparently, like, just bowing down to someone. Well, not bowing down, obviously, but in terms of just like relenting and listening to what someone else has to say. It's very cool for me to see because I figured Zeus would almost never do this. He'd never seem like a person who would ever even think about lowering himself and obeying someone else's commands. And it's great to see that he's willing to do it for his brother, considering, you know, they're brothers. It'd be like that when it'd be like that sometimes when you're related to someone else, especially when they're older. So it's cool to see that dynamic already being established. And I feel like the chapter glazes over it, but I feel like it's very important to see between these two. I hope Hades fights. That's another thing. However, we do get to see that Hades does know what Hajun is. And we get to experience, like, backstory. Or not backstory, more so exposition. And we get to see that Hades rules over Helheim. And I think in Greek mythology, the underworld was always just called the underworld. But at the same time, man, like, I guess Norse mythology and Greek mythology are two of the biggest, baddest pantheons ever. So, or at least in the mythological sense, and not just like directly worshipped as much anymore. So I guess it makes sense that they have so much influence, but geez, like, Greece, for a Greek god to be the supreme deity, and then for the other Greek god to be like ruler of an entire realm of multiple pantheons, like, it's kind of wild. However, we do get to see that there is Helheim, the underworld, and that Hades rules over it. However, he doesn't know everything about it because he says there's a legend, like a rhyme, an old riddle that goes, at white light and black shadows blending. Whoa. At white light and black shadows blending, the horns of the netherworld shall awaken and eternal darkness shall be born. So it's a legend. He doesn't even know. And the thing is, he was legit asked, like, yo, so like, you have something to do with this? Like, they're taking a look at this big boy Hajun and it's like, you planned this? And Hades, like, he goes quiet And then he says no. But I feel like he may know something, because like there's no reason to pause. He would just went, nah, I don't really know anything about this. I've never seen it before. But the thing is, I feel like he knows a little bit about Hajun, like a little bit more than he's implying, because that panel of him just sitting there with his hand on his face is like, it's like the kind of panel that makes you think, it sends the idea that he's thinking like, do I tell them the truth? That like I literally whipped this up in my own kitchen? You know what? Let's not do that. And then he just pushes on from the next topic. I feel like that's what that's hinting at, but that may just be me. That may just be a boy spitting a little bit differently. I may be incorrect. Maybe I'm not. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see. However, we do get to know that Hades is kind of shooketh about the idea that some random god from Valhalla, that isn't even canon to mythology, somehow managed to turn into Hajun. Somehow. And we do get to see that he just doesn't know. Like that ends the conversation between the Greek gods. Like we cut back to the fight, and we get to see that Buddha is sort of like shooketh. He's mainly staying on the defensive. He has his own little weapon still, the same little short sword. And Hajun is like, yo, my apologies, buddy, but if I body you, I body you. And he almost does, because Hajun instantly, like these two are a decent distance apart, and despite Hajun being massive, Nyan instantaneously, after making a blade arm, clears the distance between himself and Buddha is forced to block organically. And we get to see these two clash, and Hajun's casual one-arm swing, sure, he probably has the momentum from when he dashed forward, but still, mainly his one-arm swing is enough to force Buddha to block with both hands and proceed to slam Buddha into the ground. Well, not slam him into the ground as in Buddha lands back on the ground, but he literally cracks the earth beneath Buddha's feet while Buddha is defending. That's just with the hit of him swinging down his arm. And Arjuna's like, yo, not gonna lie, dog, I thought you were fodder. Nice work, buddy. Good job. And Buddha is able to block the look. Well, not block the look, block the hit. But then the battle really begins. We get to see that Buddha is purely on the defensive. He's making no offensive leaps. And Gear goes on to note that, yo, all right, so we know that Hajun is like a kind of speedy and powerful boy, but you know, Buddha's chilling, right? Because he can see the future. And the way that Brunhild describes it, or at least explain Buddha's ability deeper, is that it's not necessarily as good as one would think. It's sort of like a pseudo mind reading tech. It's a soul reading technique. Essentially, Buddha gets to see the way the soul would move based on how the mind would react in a certain situation, but it's based on the light that a soul possesses. And thus, if a being has no light in it, or if a being has no soul to read, well, Buddha's sight doesn't work. So it makes it interesting. It makes you wonder like how Buddha would interact with certain beings that either have some pure darkness properties. So like Buddha wouldn't be able to react to or do anything. No, not react. He could probably react to him, but he wouldn't be able to perceive the future of a heartless, a being of pure darkness. He wouldn't be able to perceive probably a being of a nobody. Like, I know I'm going into Kingdom Hearts stuff, but those are like the two biggest examples that come to my head. Heartless and nobodies. They either don't have any light at all, or they're pure darkness, just like Hajun. So it seems like Buddha's ability to perceive them would be absolutely cut off, because as it said, a Hajun soul is purely darkness, and thus he cannot see anything. So Buddha's running on blanks, and it's actually just showing off pure combat ability, which is very, very good. I do like that Buddha isn't just like a hard cheater. Like he only is good at fighting because he can see the future or see a person's soul in the future. He's actually a pretty decent fighter. However, he does seem to be on the back foot. Like Hajun does manage to land a slash directly on Buddha's bicep, his gains, and slices it open. And here's the thing. Our boy Heimdall is given the play-by-play, right? And Heimdall, you gots to call off the match, dog. This is not the same fighter anymore. And here's the thing. I understand opening up this match was a mess in its start, because Buddha was initially supposed to be the god that was going to fight on the god side. It went to the human side, and when you know it was supposed to be Bishamonten who was going to fight Buddha, but then that ended up changing to Zero. But the thing is, Zero is like on the roster. You updated that. Hajun doesn't count anymore. Hajun literally says Zero is gone. This is not, and not only is Zero gone, as in the fighter was defeated and is technically dead in the terms of he's not there anymore, but also this is not even a deity fighting anymore. This isn't a deity versus a deity. This is a deity versus a demon. Like, this is not regular Ragnarok anymore, or at least not in the typical rules. This isn't the Ragnarok that they established or the Ragnarok rules that they had altered for this fight in particular. So honestly, give my boy Buddha the technical, and I need like all the gods to come and jump Hajun right now, because Hajun is doing Buddha dirty. And the way we get to see that Hajun is able to like manipulate how he, like the blade that he spawns out of his arm, which is a very cool extension of Misery Cleaver. Like Zero Fuku had to pull Misery why am I saying like a video game character's name? Misery Cleaver out of his shoulder. He had to yank it out. Meanwhile, Hajun sort of just like doesn't pull it all the way out of his body. Like the blade hand that he spawns seems to form from his flesh and bone, and it hardens, and he can bend it. Like when he pulls back to slice at Buddha, he sort of like allows the blade to bend and curve, and then we get to see that Buddha's still able to react to it, just barely. But when he kicks off Hajun, he only ends up sending himself backwards. Hajun doesn't flinch. Hajun doesn't move. And that is wild. Hajun is a beefy, speedy beast. Top tier deity right now. Well, demon right now. We get to see that Hajun is actually kind of impressed. He's like, wow, I managed to land one cut on you? You kind of built different, dog. Hold on. Let me go Super Saiyan 3. And then he proceeds to like, I'm not sure what he's doing here, if he's beefing up his arm, but like his right arm seems to get bigger. The blade he had before seems to curl around in sort of like this drill-like motion. And then we do get to see that he goes for Divine Retribution. But actually getting into Divine Retribution, it's kind of weird because like, I know he's the Lord of the Sixth Heaven, so I guess he kind of is a deity, but like Hades says he isn't a god. He seems to be something. He seems to be some kind of demon. He comes from the underworld. I feel like this man shouldn't be worried about Divine Retribution. Like, I feel like that's the hint, though, that somewhere deep inside him, Zero's still there. And I feel like I'll cover what I think is going to have to happen for Buddha to win, or for at least for Buddha to survive. But we do get to see this gigantic drill. Like, Hajun is able to start spinning his arm. Like, I guess he, like, logically or biologically, he disjointed his shoulder, like undid his arm from his body, started to spin it like a Beyblade, I guess, and managed to turn that like stagnant curved blade into a drill. And he just lunges at Buddha. It is an amazing panel. And we get to see Buddha's like, yo, turn 6 realms, turn about. We've got to go though. And we get to see the shield pops out. The shield, I'm not even gonna do it. The shield to destroy the 7 misfortunes, which is interesting because, you know, Zero Fuku was made up of the 7 lucky gods, 7 misfortunes, the 7 fortunate gods. And, you know, Buddha was, well, Zero Fuku was based on the 7 deadly sins, you know, stuff like that. But you get to see that Gear's excited, right? Because Buddha popped the shield, and the shield's obviously gonna work, right? We get this big clash, everyone's blown back, Odin's beard gets knocked in his face, everything's going away. But we get to see blood. And what do we see then? Buddha bleeding, because Zero managed to pierce my man's eye. Like a hole on that drill reached through, it pierced directly through the shield. But I guess the shield like ate some of the impact, because the hole isn't big. It isn't that big, at least. But Buddha is bleeding. He has lost an eye. And in response, my favorite panel of the entire chapter, which is why it had to be the thumbnail, we get to see Hajun finally express some personality. He's like, oh, it's so bad. And I really, automatically, I'm not gonna lie, as a fight, this one chapter was better than the entirety of Zero vs. Buddha up to this point, except for like the emotional weight behind last 2 chapters, like whole fight. That, like, the final fisticuff swing, the back and forth boxing match, I did like that a lot from the last chapter. But in terms of just like pure combat, I really like this chapter, and I really like Hajun, because for the entire chapter he seems like this emotionless, almost monstrous being. Like, he's not displaying any emotion. He's very much like a Terminator. There's no real emotion or thought behind it. It's just he's acting out his desires in the most plain robotic way possible. We get to see right at the very end, there's this burst of personality. The way he grins, and the mangaka does that purposely. Like, this is the first time you get to see Hajun's teeth, and the way he smiles, he's expressive. He reminds me, this very much reminds me of Poseidon's look, ironically enough, when he landed that hit on Sasaki that managed to pierce him. He's like, and Poseidon threw his head back in that big old laugh. That's what this look reminded me of. Hajun really gave me some big old Poseidon vibes right there. And honestly, I'm super excited because I think there's only one way Buddha can win. And I feel like that's by piercing the dark spot on Hajun's chest. Because notably, it's still there. The hole in Zero's heart is filled in the sense that Hajun doesn't have a direct hole there. But I feel like Buddha's going to have to work to pierce that to bring the original Zero back out. Because there's a reason that that's still there in my mind. Like every other part of Hajun, while looking like malignant and malformed, like he literally has bones, what look like jutting out of his arms. But in actuality, it seems like I mean, at least to me, it doesn't seem like Buddha can win this fight if he goes for like the sheer, I'm gonna beat you to death. Like, I don't think that's gonna work. And I think Buddha wouldn't even want to kill Hajun because he's gonna believe that Zero is still somewhere deep in there. And I feel like another way that Buddha could hypothetically win is if he sort of like forces light into Hajun. Like if he makes Hajun sort of develop light in of himself. Because the way that Hajun expresses himself at the end, like from this robotic, soulless being that's only intent on murder and divine retribution, I feel like if Buddha gets him to express more and more personality, he could start to see like a glimpse, a glimmer of light, and he can start using his future sight again. Because the way that Hajun is fighting right now implies that he is not a rival to Buddha. He is superior to him in speed and durability, everything. Maybe the two are relative in speed, but in terms of raw power, Buddha's shield got completely pierced through. So I think Buddha cannot win this fight if he's going head to head. And I do want Buddha to still win this fight. As much as I like Hajun right now, as much flexing as he's doing right now, and I think it's cool, I do still want Buddha to take that dub. So hopefully he still can. But honestly, I think those are the only two ways. And there was another way I saw online, because I did see the spoilers for this chapter, but I only saw this end page. I'm super excited about the rest of the chapter, especially seeing Hades. Hades wasn't spoiled for me, and I think that's great. But I do like the idea of like all the people praying to Buddha. Like at first, humanity all prayed to Adam, and we know what happened there. Nothing. It all failed. But Buddha is an actual deity, at least in this version. And if they pray to him, they may be able to amp him in order to compete with Hajun in terms of raw power. And possibly, like, he could use their light. Ooh, it'd be cool if Buddha's, like, evolution through their prayer allowed him to, like, see all the light in the area. And then the reason he could start seeing Hajun is because in moments there would be darkness that would cloud out that light. Like somehow there would be like impurities and he could start dodging off of that. I'm very, very intrigued with this chapter. This is a solid, honestly, from the introduction of Hades to the new dynamic and intense battle, from the amazing artwork in this chapter, everything, honestly, the lore in this chapter too, the interactions between Zeus and Hades, the interactions between Hajun and Buddha, the piercing of the eye, everything. This is a 10 out of 10 chapter. I love it. This is great. Honestly, that's my thoughts though. What do you guys think? What do you think Buddha's gonna be able to do to win? Do you think Buddha's gonna be able to win now? What do you think has changed? Are y'all excited for chapter 51? I am. I'm hyped. Please tell me what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with the Pencil, writing off.